The Young and the Restless spoilers Tuesday full episodes May 27, 2025 in the pre-dawn hush of Genoa City, a sense of unease lingered like the final chord of a somber symphony, as if the town itself were holding its breath in anticipation of revelations that could shatter alliances and redefine loyalties. At the center of this gathering storm stood Holden Novak, his normally impassive gaze finally betraying a tremor of urgency as he made his way through the cavernous halls of Newman Enterprises toward the private suite where Claire Grace Newman awaited him. Moments earlier, Claire had received an unexpected summons. A curt note slipped under her office door bearing only Holden's name and the promise of news so dire that he could not trust it to paper or proxy. Even as the building stirred to life around them, the silence between the two of them crackled with unspoken tension. Holden paused at the entrance, his hand hovering over the doorframe as though steeling himself. Behind him, the corridor lights gleamed off brushed steel and glass, but his thoughts were far from the opulence of Newman's corporate citadel. He was thinking of the secret he carried. One that, once shared, could set off a cascade of consequences reaching all the way to the Winters family and beyond. Claire watched him with wide, apprehensive eyes, her usual composure fraying at the edges. Throughout her childhood, she had learned to mask her fears behind a veneer of poise, but today was different. Not even the polished hardwood and the discreet hush of luxury amassed by her lineage could buffer her from the cold dread pooling in her stomach. "You said it was urgent," she said, her voice low, almost strangled. "If this has anything to do with Kyle, Holden raised a single finger to forestall her. He motioned toward the luxurious seating area bathed in the soft glow of early morning light, as if gesturing that even minor distractions could derail what he had to say. Claire seated herself, her posture taut like a drawn bowstring, and braced for the blow. When Holden finally spoke, his words slipped out in a hush that seemed too fragile to bear the weight of their import. The secret implicated Audra Charles in clandestine dealings that reached into the very heart of Newman Abbott power struggles, a revelation that had remained buried until now. Claire's breath caught as she absorbed the implications. Audra's hidden alliance could upend everything Kyle had fought to protect, and could send shockwaves through both families. Meanwhile, far from the glossy heights of Newman Enterprises, a different kind of confrontation was unfolding at the Winters residence, a confrontation that carried its own thunderclap of scandal. Lily Winters, the steely-eyed scion of the Winters clan known for her unshakable moral compass, had summoned Amanda Sinclair to her kitchen table under pretense of sisterly counsel. But Amanda, recently unveiled as the official representative of the shadowy figure known only as Aristotle Dumas, arrived with confidence sharpened by ambition. Whispers followed her through the door. Amanda had declared to anyone who would listen that Dumas was not there to seize control of Winters Publications or any other family enterprise. Rather, he sought to protect the very institution he now claimed as his own. The irony was not lost on onlookers. Here was an outsider, whose motives and identity remained cloaked in rumor, positioning himself as the guardian of a legacy that Lily had fought tirelessly to uphold. And Amanda, with the smooth cadences of a practiced advocate, wove a narrative so compelling that for a moment even Lily hesitated. Could it be true that Dumas was, in fact, an ally and not an adversary? Could there be a hidden family bond, an orphaned nephew or cousin whose sole aim was to preserve Winters' integrity? Yet every fiber of Lily's intuition rebelled at the idea of such noble deceit. In her mind, protection achieved through manipulation was no protection at all. It was the siren call of betrayal dressed in altruism. Word of Lily's meeting with Amanda traveled swiftly across town, stoking the embers of suspicion in every corner of Genoa City. At Society Hall, over charity luncheon sandwiches, the city's elite exchanged hushed asides. "Is it true? Dumas is no threat," he says. "Amanda insists he only wants to guard the Winters legacy," one whispered. "But what are we to believe?" murmured another, wrapping her cashmere wrap a little tighter around her shoulders. Meanwhile, staff at Chancellor Industries scrabbled to verify Amanda's credentials, dredging through public records and private filings to find any trace of the enigmatic Dumas beyond his proclamations. But the trail ran cold. No listing under corporate registries, no philanthropic donations, no past court transcripts, nothing tangible that could corroborate his claims. The only certainty was that Amanda Sinclair had arrived in town with one clear message: Aristotle Dumas was here, and he was on their side. Though few believed it, no one could deny the gravity with which she made her case, nor the glint of fervor in her eyes as she brandished documents that she insisted proved Dumas's intent to stand as protector rather than plunderer. Back at Newman Enterprises, Holden Novak and Claire Grace Newman remained locked in a far more personal reckoning. Claire absorbed his disclosure of Audra's covert entanglements in stunned silence, her mind racing to connect the dots. Audra's alliance with Dumas, her influence on Kyle's latest business ventures, the timing of her sudden intervention, all of it hinted at a master plan that transcended simple corporate rivalry. Claire realized that the secret Holden bore was the linchpin of a scheme so intricate that it blurred the line between familial loyalty and corporate marauding. To confront Audra without proof would be to risk her reputation. To wait for confirmation could mean allowing irreparable damage to unfold. As Claire wrestled with these impossible choices, Holden offered what comfort he could: a promise of solidarity, a vow to keep the secret private until the full extent of its ramifications could be mapped. Together, they sketched out a strategy that balanced discretion with decisive action, knowing that the window to strike, or defend, would close once Amanda unveiled the next chapter of the Dumas saga. And yet, as the morning sun climbed higher, casting its indifferent light on the unfolding drama, an unsettling truth settled over Genoa City. In a town built on secrets and power plays, trust was always the most elusive commodity. Whether it was Holden and Claire guarding their explosive intelligence, or Lily and her family grappling with Amanda's audacious claims, each player found themselves bound by alliances as shifting as the wind. Aristotle Dumas, real or imagined, had become the catalyst that forced every character to confront their own vulnerabilities and loyalties. In Claire's case, the secret about Audra ignited a dormant resolve, a determination to protect her family legacy even if it meant exposing a loved one's betrayal. For Lily, the prospect of a hidden kinship with Dumas tempted her moral certainty, leaving her to question whether familial bonds could ever justify manipulation. And for Amanda, the stakes were even higher. She had staked her professional credibility on the narrative that Dumas was a guardian rather than a conqueror, and failure to convince the Winters family could tarnish her reputation beyond repair. By mid-afternoon, the ripples of Amanda's pronouncement and Holden's confession had reached every boardroom and drawing room in Genoa City. At the Grand Phoenix, bartenders found themselves eavesdropping on confidential conversations. At Crimson Lights Coffee, laptops flickered with news alerts and social media speculations, and at the athletic club, patrons paused mid-stride on treadmills to check their phones for updates. Across each venue, one question reverberated: who could be trusted when the lines between friend and foe had blurred so completely? The answer, as always in Genoa City, was as complex as the people themselves. Some, like Jack Abbott, saw an opportunity in the chaos, a chance to ally with Michael Baldwin or Claire Newman to outmaneuver Victor and Amanda both. Others, like Catherine Chancellor, stewed in the comfort of past wisdom, reminding herself that history had taught her to expect betrayal at every turn. In every case, the human heart proved to be the most unpredictable instrument in the symphony of power, capable of striking dissonant chords that reshaped the melody at a moment's notice. As evening descended, casting elongated shadows against the gleaming facades of corporate towers, the players in this high-stakes drama retreated to their inner sanctums to prepare for what lay ahead. Claire Grace Newman locked the door to her private study and reviewed Holden's account once more, determined to uncover the full extent of Audra's duplicity before confronting her. Lily Winters convened a family council in her living room, marshalling proof of Amanda's purported documents against her own instincts to achieve clarity. And Amanda herself, her reputation riding on the veracity of her claims, made a clandestine call to an unknown number, her parting words leaving a trace of triumph in the darkness: "They believe me, for now." Meanwhile, somewhere beyond the city limits, a figure cloaked in anonymity, Aristotle Dumas, watched the unfolding spectacle through eyes that held secrets even those closest to him could not fathom. In Genoa City, the opera of ambition, loyalty, and betrayal played on, each act more riveting than the last. The message of Aristotle Dumas had ignited a conflagration of doubt, Holden's revelation had unearthed a betrayal cloaked in affection, and Lily's confrontation with Amanda had unveiled the precarious balance between protection and deception. As the next movement of this intricate drama prepared to begin, one immutable truth remained. In a city where every handshake masked a hidden agenda and every alliance carried the seed of its own undoing, the greatest power of all belonged to those who could wield the most dangerous secret, one that, once unleashed, could change the course of lives and legacies forever. In the unseen hour before dawn on May 26, Genoa City's skyline appeared deceptively tranquil, as though the town were holding its breath in anticipation of dramas yet to unfold. Behind the facades of gleaming corporate towers and manicured lawns, tensions simmered among the city's most influential families, each maneuvering toward alliances or rivalries that would define the coming week. At the heart of it all was Claire Grace Newman, who awoke to a cryptic summons. Holden Novak, a man she barely knew beyond a courteous handshake at one of Victor Newman's charity galas, had asked for a private meeting. Any reasonable person, especially one as pragmatic as Claire, would have declined the invitation to speak with a virtual stranger in a public venue, let alone over matters of grave consequence. But Holden's plea had carried an urgency she could not ignore. He spoke of a secret so explosive that it could shatter trust between long-standing allies and unleash chaos in the Newman-Abbott empire. When Claire arrived at the dimly lit back booth of Society Hall Bar, she found Holden sitting alone, fingers drumming against the polished cherrywood tabletop. His normally impassive gaze flickered with tension as he leaned forward and disclosed the truth. Audra Charles, once a trusted confidant within Genoa City's tight-knit inner circle, had been orchestrating clandestine communications with an unknown third party, her messages encrypted, routed through offshore servers, and deliberately concealed from even her closest friends. Claire's heart skipped. Audra had been Kyle's staunchest ally, offering counsel on every delicate maneuver. To learn that Audra had been maintaining a covert channel to an unseen entity felt less like betrayal and more like the beginning of a conspiracy that might engulf everyone she held dear. Across town, Lily Winters paced the polished hardwood floors of her stately living room, rehearsing the words she intended to hurl at Amanda Sinclair when they finally met face to face. Rumors had swirled for days about the enigmatic figure known only as Aristotle Dumas and the claim that he had appointed Amanda as his legal representative. Critics whispered that Dumas was merely another powerful interloper, determined to tear apart the legacy of the Winters family from within. As guardian of the Winters name, Lily could not abide such uncertainty. With Devin Winters by her side, she confronted Amanda at her childhood friend's chic downtown loft. Lily's voice rang with conviction. She demanded proof of Dumas's true intentions. Amanda, ever poised, produced a stack of documents, letters of intent, power of attorney forms, notarized affidavits, each page stamped and certified in obscure jurisdictions. She insisted that Dumas sought not to dismantle Winters' publications but to fortify it against predatory takeovers orchestrated by outside shareholders. Yet Devin, convinced that Amanda had fallen under Dumas's deceitful spell, scoffed at the presentation. "These could be forgeries," he muttered, his eyes narrowing. "Remember what happened with that so-called investment firm last year." As Amanda defended her credentials with unshakable calm, Lily found herself torn between her sister's fervent belief in transparency and her brother's palpable distrust. In the end, she vowed to call a family council sometime before the weekend, to weigh the competing claims of loyalty and prudence. Meanwhile, word had leaked of a far more combative showdown set to occur under the Newman patriarch's direct involvement. On Main Street's polished marble steps, Adam Newman and Victor Newman were scheduled to confront Billy Abbott in what insiders described as a showcase hearing at Newman Enterprises' downtown annex. Adam, Victor's estranged son whose own ambitions had oscillated between alliance and rebellion, now stood shoulder to shoulder with his father. They accused Billy of misappropriating confidential trade secrets from Jabot Cosmetics, documents that, if leaked, could jeopardize both companies' market position. Billy, ever defiant, arrived flanked by a retinue of lawyers and his wife, Victoria, her gaze steely as she prepared to defend her husband's reputation. The tension was electric. Gasps rippled through the crowd when Victoria publicly accused Newman Enterprises of fabricating the allegations to distract from Victor's recent setbacks in the European venture. In the charged silence that followed, Victor's gravelly voice rang out, asserting that loyalty to the Newman name demanded accountability, even from those bound by friendship and marriage. The motion passed to a private arbitration meeting, leaving Billy's fate and the future of Jabot's proprietary formulas hanging in the balance. Not far away, at the glittering ballroom of the downtown Ritz, Nikki Newman was preparing for a birthday celebration that promised equal measures of pomp and poignancy. Despite the current corporate skirmishes, Victor had insisted that Nikki's milestone deserved celebration untainted by sour boardroom disputes. As guests filed in, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin in a shimmering ivory sheath, Catherine Chancellor leaning on her cane with quiet dignity, and Jack Abbott offering a lopsided grin, Victor watched from the dais. When the time came to present Nikki's gift, he stepped forward with a crimson velvet box. Inside lay the unpublished journal of Victor's late wife, Victoria Chancellor Newman, its pages filled with personal recollections, sketches, and reflections on Genoa City's social tapestry. The crowd held its breath as Victor explained that he had discovered the journal tucked away in a safe deposit box, left behind as a testament to love that had weathered every storm. Nikki's eyes glistened with tears. The gift was both a culmination of memory and an unspoken promise of unity amid the storm gathering just outside the ballroom walls. Behind the scenes of that celebration, Kyle Abbott and Claire Grace Newman quietly cemented their own strategy. Kyle, having just been cut out of the arbitration meeting by Victor's legal team, recognized that clear-headed partnership with Claire, whose insider knowledge of Audra's duplicity might prove crucial, offered the best chance to protect Jabot's interests. Over champagne flutes in a discreet alcove, they mapped out an approach to gather incontrovertible evidence of Audra's covert communications, planning to present it to both the board of directors and the public relations teams should the need arise. Their initiative would run in parallel with Nikki's triumphant moment, signaling that even amid festivity, the serious work of survival in Genoa City never ceased. And yet, amid these entangled plots, one figure stood apart in silent vigilance. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin. Although Lauren had spent the evening at Nikki's birthday gala, smiling politely and offering birthday wishes, her thoughts kept drifting back to her husband, Michael Baldwin. Michael's recent decisions, especially his insistence on breaking free from Victor's orbit and his rumored alignment with Jack Abbott, had unsettled Lauren more than she would care to admit. As a lawyer whose moral compass guided her practice, she understood the nuance of negotiating under duress. Still, she worried that Michael's emotional scars from past imprisonments had clouded his judgment, transforming strategic detachment into rash defiance. When she received a brief text from him, "Need to talk. Important." Her smile faltered. Excusing herself from Nikki's circle, Lauren slipped into the hallway, her heart pounding. Whatever Michael had to say, she vowed to stand by him, but only if his next moves balanced honor with prudence, rather than impulsive rebellion. By the time the weekend arrived, Genoa City's social calendar brimmed with both obligations and opportunities. Amanda Sinclair faced her own crucible. Devon had threatened to expose her to the Winters Board if she could not produce verifiable proof of Aristotle Dumas's genuine identity and intentions. Under that pressure, she found herself at a crossroads, forced to decide whether to double down on her assertions or to withdraw in order to salvage her reputation and her relationships. Claire Newman prepared to confront Audra with Holden's revelations, aware that the fallout would reverberate across family dinners and board meetings alike. Adam and Victor, triumphant in securing a private arbitration, readied their strategy to capitalize on any leverage over Jabot while also guarding against a public relations backlash. Nikki Newman, the honored guest of her own birthday gala, carried the weight of Victor's gift like a talisman, determined to use it as a bridge between warring factions in her extended family. Kyle and Claire embarked on their investigative partnership, trade secrets and encrypted messages their weapons of choice. And Lauren, in a quiet moment of self-reflection, steeled herself to counsel her husband through whatever storms lay ahead. Knowing that their personal bond would be tested more severely than any corporate contract. Thus unfolded the week of May 26, 2025, a tapestry of secrets whispered in shadowed corridors, confrontations staged in grand ballrooms, and decisions made behind closed doors. Each character, bound by a web of loyalty and ambition, moved their pieces with calculated precision, aware that a single misstep could bring ruin or redemption.